I am Allyson Schwartz's son. And I'm representing her and her candidacy for governor.
That's interesting. So a little more into the background about yourself. So you are her campaign manager.
I'm actually not. I'm a senior advisor on the campaign. I wouldn't trust myself to be able to run the campaign, but I've been happy to be on board on the campaign and help where I can. That's really what I sought out to do when I came across from my previous job to work on the campaign. So I'm here doing a bunch of different things and really having a blast.
Awesome. I appreciate for you taking the time out of your busy schedule to help speak to us at KUR, and for our listeners at home, to be able to know about our candidate that wants to help run for governor. So,
Absolutely.
What is Allyson's political background?
Well, she first ran for office in the early '90s. She was a state senator representing a good chunk of Northwest Philadelphia in the state Senate for 14 years. She really made her mark from the very beginning of her tenure by ushering through the CHIP legislation, which is the Children's Health Insurance Program. She was one of the real leaders in the state Senate pushing through health insurance for all Pennsylvania children, regardless of income, regardless of whether their parents were able to afford insurance themselves. So she's particularly proud of that legislation that she was able to get done in her first term as a state senator. It actually became a model for the country. Bill Clinton signed it into law, and now 11 million children across the country have access to CHIP, which all started in Pennsylvania. So that was early on in her years as a state senator. In 2004, she ran for U.S. Congress and won a heavily contested seat for Congress, and has been in Congress ever since, really taking on big challenges around healthcare, in particular, making sure that healthcare was accessible to folks who couldn't afford it. As you know, we know the Obamacare is now getting underway. She really took on major chunks of that and helped piece that together. As we know, kids graduating college can stay on their parents' plans now for the first time, and folks can't get turned away from insurance companies because of pre-existing conditions, and including young children. So she's particularly proud of the work she's done in elected office and takes her roles there seriously. But is looking forward to the next step. She's stepping up to run for governor, giving up her seat in Congress in order to take this on, and it's a big challenge, but I think she's up to it.
So she's always wanted to move up, up to governor.
She was actually very she was happy with her role in Congress. She was moving up in the ranks in Congress, working on interesting legislation, doing good things for her district. I don't think she was expecting to necessarily take this on, but she did see this Governor Corbett, making bad decision after bad decision, and couldn't just stand by while that was happening. I think she, in particular, his cuts to education, both K to 12 education, but also higher ed. Those are the first cuts he made as governor. The first decision he made as governor was to balance the budget on the backs of school children and college kids, and that really motivated her, and I think a lot of people to really take another look at this governor and say, wait a minute, we don't have to just keep reelecting our governors every 4 years just because that's the way it's always happened. We can actually take this guy on and change the direction of Pennsylvania. I think she really dug deep and asked herself those questions. And I think at the end of the day, she said, we can't afford 4 more years of this governor. And if we're gonna change the direction of Pennsylvania back to something positive, I've got to take this on myself.
Very good. There's a number of opponents right now eyeing governorship. So, what do you think is her biggest challenge in trying to win the numbers in order to gain governor?
Yeah, the challenge in any race is to get folks excited, to get voters engaged and motivated. The good news is that the Governor Corbett is the best motivating factor we have. He has really galvanized both Democrats and Republicans. Really don't want him to be governor anymore, which is really astounding. That even members of his own party are saying, it's time for someone different. So what usually is the challenge, especially in primaries, off-year non-presidential primaries, what often is the challenge is that folks aren't engaged, aren't excited, don't know that there's an election coming up. People are very tuned in at this particular election, and they'll get more and more tuned in as we go forward. So the path is clear, the strategy is in place. Now at this point, it's really just about executing that strategy and making sure that we're communicating with as many voters, as many citizens across the Commonwealth as we possibly can, on the way to both winning this primary and then defeating Corbett in November.
So you think this her political history will help give her an advantage over her opponents?
I think a record of accomplishment will give her an advantage. She has consistently pushed, and sometimes pushed hard. Sometimes her colleagues don't always like that she pushes so hard to get things done. At the end of the day, that's what voters want. They want someone who actually is going to go and take their job seriously, work every hour of every day to try to get things done. And not every day is going to have a victory, but every day you should try. And that's the way she gets up every morning, and that's she shows up to work ready to lead, and that's what voters are going to look at. To be a rookie legislator in 1990 in Harrisburg, and to be able to work with members of her own party, with folks across the aisle, to get CHIP done. Her first piece of legislation in Congress, also as a rookie member of Congress, was to help get veterans coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, help them get jobs as they come back stateside. It's one of the challenges for veterans to reintegrate into civilian life. She knows that as the daughter of a Korean War veteran. It was tough those first years when her father came back from the war, and had to figure out what his career was going to be. And so she understood that. And when she got to Congress, she said, we're going to help figure this out. So she figured out a way to get a tax credit to businesses who hired veterans coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. That was the first piece of legislation she got done. It was signed by George Bush, President Bush, who she didn't agree on much with. But it just shows that she's willing to identify a problem, work to find a solution, and get it done, even if reaching across the aisle, working with unlikely partners, but getting things done. It's just what she's all about.
Oh, that's good. So, as a veteran myself, I appreciate all her work toward helping fellow veterans. As well, her opinions and goals toward helping PA and across the nation. But I do have one question pertaining back to the governorship. What is her thoughts on Tom Wolfe's big gain, and how does she plan on countering it?
I think she understands that voters are incredibly motivated to find an alternative to Tom Corbett, and so right now, we still feel like this is incredibly early in this process. We're 6 weeks out from the election day, as you know, and as your listeners know. This is the moment when folks really start to tune in. And so we've been building our infrastructure. We've been growing our grassroots network. We've been putting our field effort in place in both communities and neighborhoods and on college campuses across the state, ready to flick on every switch as we get into this final stretch. And so that's what we're about to do. And we feel incredibly confident that when Pennsylvanians hear this message about my mom's record of accomplishment, her diehard work ethic, they will understand that's what we need. That's what we need in Harrisburg. We need someone who is going to shake things up in Harrisburg, shake up the old boys network, and change the status quo in Harrisburg. That's what this is about. You can't just send the same people in over and over again and expect a different result. You've got to send someone in who has a different look, who has a different approach, who has a different sense of leadership, and a real sense of purpose. But then the nuts and bolts ability to get things done. And that's what my mom represents. That's what she has, and that's why we are incredibly confident and excited about what this next 6 weeks is going to bring. I'm looking forward to it.
Glad to hear, and I couldn't agree more. So, are there any more information about Allyson Schwartz for governor that you want to be able to give the listeners?
Well, I mean, I think we've said a lot. I mean, I think what I would say is for your listeners, really, I mean, this is going to come down to a decision about both who is going to bring new leadership to Harrisburg, but also who's going to represent them. That's what this is about. My mom, I can speak personally about what she's like, both certainly, in her day job, but also, what she's like as a person. She's someone who helps support me through growing up, being a student in high school, not oftentimes needing support, but then also needing my parents' support through a college too, and so she gets it. She understands what we go through as we not only work our way through high school and college, sometimes racking up incredible college debt, but then also trying to get out there in the workforce, trying to find that first job, trying to find a foothold into a career. She gets that. She understands that. She's seen my brother and me try to figure that out. And so that's what I would say to your listeners is certainly go on her website and look at her college affordability plan and look what she's trying to do to make life a little bit easier for college students across the state, especially those in our state schools, state related. The freeze tuition to reduce the debt burden, especially on college students that come from middle class families. But then also make sure that we have jobs waiting for our college grads when they graduate. That's an incredible difference between successful states and mediocre states. Is do we have jobs that are ready to be filled by our best and brightest? And so she gets that. She understands that, and she's got her eye on the prize when it comes to what's gonna create jobs, what's gonna grow our economy, and how do we make Pennsylvania proud of itself again. Is really what it comes down to. It's going to take new leadership. So it's an exciting prospect. I think folks are really excited that we have this opportunity in front of us, and we might be able to get a governor who actually gets us.
That would be exciting. What was that website again, just for the listeners at home?
Yep. It's AllysonSchwartz.com. So it's AllysonSchwartz.com.
Okay.
And the other thing for your listeners to know is we are growing our grassroots and field network all across the state. The big piece of that is having presence on every single college university in the state. Kutztown is going to be a big piece of that. We'd love to engage as many Kutztown students as possible. We need campus coordinators. We need activists. We need folks who are going to knock on doors and hand out literature and put together rallies and really work hard for this effort. So if you're interested, get in touch. We'd love to have you.
I hope they do. So I really appreciate the time and you were able to give us and help us with getting the word out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to the next few weeks.